It is my pleasure to introduce to you our main speaker tonight. I had the pleasure of meeting him earlier today, and I've been able to listen to a few of his tapes. Welcome, Paul McQ from Rockaway Beach, New York.
Paul, it's been a wonderful evening so far. Try not to screw it up, you know. Thank you for that little note there from the committee. I'll put that away. My name is Paul, and I'm an alcoholic. And it's good to be here, and it's good to be sober. And I want to thank the group for giving me the opportunity to service here tonight. It's a great privilege and an honor to be asked to speak here tonight, and one I don't take lightly. And first of all, I'd like to say I want to thank Cameron and Alison for coming to the airport and picking me up. Two beautiful young ladies. I was a pleasant surprise. It's usually some old grizzly alcoholic, you know. Is your name Paul? Shut up and get in the car, you know. So it was really nice, you know, and I've had a wonderful time since I got here, and I just love Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm here tonight, and I see my friend Matthew. Matthew and I have been going to meetings on Zoom together for about 3 years, and I met him for the first time in person here tonight. I think he was quite relieved to see that I'm not 3 inches tall with a flat face, you know. And I just love an Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. I mean, I'm here tonight and we're all talking back and forth and meeting each other. And Alcoholics Anonymous is the only place in the world that you can walk in a room full of strangers and start reminiscing. You know what I mean? I might not drink with you, but you're my people. You know, when you say an alcoholic, I know enough. I know you've experienced terror, frustration, bewilderment, despair. And in that, there's more unites us than ever divides us, like Tradition 1. And I just want to thank everybody. And you can see from the flyer, I'm coming to you from Rockaway Beach, New York City. I don't know if you know Rockaway Beach, New York City. It's a big Irish-American neighborhood. And people will go, oh, Rockaway Beach, the Irish Riviera. We know it better in AA as Cirrhosis by the Sea. There's 2 types of people in Rockaway Beach, those that are in AA and those that should be in AA, you know. So you're looking for 12-step work, please come to Rockaway Beach, you know. And I'm staying in a beautiful hotel here, and too nice for me. I mean, the towels in my room are so big and soft and fluffy, I can't tell you the trouble I had getting them into my suitcase, you know. We had to push down to get them all in here, you know. I know we got some new people here tonight, a lot of new. I just love that, the energy, all the new people here tonight. And maybe you'll get a kick out of this. There's a guy with 90 days in the program, and he's talking to his sponsor, and the sponsor says to him, now just think where you were just 90 days ago. And the sponsee says, well, actually, I was sitting in a hot tub, half drunk, surrounded by beautiful women in bikinis. And the sponsor says, isn't it wonderful that you don't have to live that way anymore today, you know? So maybe you're thinking, is this it, you know? I'm not here to sell Alcoholics Anonymous tonight. This sells itself. Like physical laws and spiritual laws, the laws of attraction. This is the last thing I tried and the first thing that ever worked. I'm not here to sell it sells itself. I tell you this, I don't mean cash and prizes. You cannot get where I'm standing tonight from where I came from without Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an impossible journey. And why do I continue to come to AA? I know how the movie goes, but I wouldn't miss it to see someone walking in those doors on the worst night of their life and be given the grace not to drink. And AA is so much more than grace. It's mercy. And the definition of mercy I like the best is entering into the chaos of another person's life. And back in August of 1992, the few people left in my life was going that way. The only people coming this way was Alcoholics Anonymous. And they carried this message. My message mightn't even keep me sober. They carried this message. And if you're new here tonight, what is the message of Alcoholics Anonymous? Like we said, there's step 1. I got a body that won't let me drink, and a mind that won't let me stop. One drink creates a thirst I can't quench. When I control my drinking, I don't enjoy it. When I start to enjoy my drinking, I can't control it. With your help, and I say as a testament to the power of AA, not myself, with your help, I haven't had a drink since August of 1992. One drink tonight, not 5, not 10. One drink tonight, destination unknown. That's what showed up here. And you beautiful people brought me a place of powerlessness and unmanageability to a place in step 12 where I've access to power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, if you're new here tonight, I'm a great believer. I love my sponsor talks about that metaphor. He talks about, the AA campfire. And I just love that. There's a line I misquoted for years in AA from How It Works. I would have said, how it was, what happened, and how it doesn't say that. It says how we were, what happened, and how we are today. And there's such power in that. We sit around the AA campfire and we tell our stories. I mean, AA is the only place in the world I know where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And everyone in here tonight has got worth and value. Whether you're a day sober, a month sober, we all come in here and we put it on in the middle. And we do together what I can't do alone, and that's not drink one day at a time. So if you're new here tonight, don't think that you've got to go and meet AA. Drop an anchor where you are tonight, and AA will meet you exactly where you are tonight. And come all the way in, and sit all the way down, and get right into the middle of AA. I mean, there's a line in the big book in chapter 4, and it talks about the old ancient theory of the flat earth. I'm a great believer that the AA world is a flat earth. You go to the edge of AA, you're going off. And the thing about going to the edge of AA, it's a drift. It's almost a glacial drift. And you don't realize you're going till you're gone. And by the time you get to the edge of AA, if there's any signposts, there are languages you don't speak anymore, and languages you don't understand anymore. Because we speak a certain language in AA. You know the disease, the language my disease speaks? My disease operates from the neck up. That's where my alcoholism lives. My disease wants me talking to me about me. That's a conversation I can't have. That's a conversation that never ends well. And I get caught up in this circle. I believe the whole program of AA, the fellowship, the steps, the traditions, is all designed to, see, my disease tells me this is where the big show's going on. Lights, camera, action. This whole program is designed to drag me out of here, kicking and screaming, into here, where the real show's going on. Because thank God in AA, alcoholism is a disease of disconnection. Thank God we don't speak the language of the head. We speak the language of the heart. I hope tonight I don't talk to an alcoholic. I hope I don't talk at an alcoholic. I hope and pray I never get up on the spiritual hilltop and talk down to an alcoholic. What is AA? If you bring AA down to its simplest form, it's one alcoholic talking with another alcoholic to remove feelings of differentness and separateness and uniqueness. I am you and you are me. I was very friendly with Liz B. She was the first African-American woman to get sober in AA. She died last year. She was 100 years old, a month shy of 70 years sober. She spoke at Bill Wilson's 20th anniversary. And Liz would always say when she was sharing, without you, there's no me. So simple, but so deeply profound. If I'm doing AA alone, I'm not doing AA. There's a friend of mine who says it's BB. I said, what's BB? He said, I don't know, but it's not AA. And I love the fact that we're connected here together. James Joyce, the Irish writer, has got a great line in one of his books, and he's talking about Dublin, but it's so indicative of AA, and he says, here comes everybody. Look around, we're all here. gender, color, creed, it doesn't matter. When you see an alcoholic, we have that bond. You're my people. I belong. I think it's so good in life to know who you are and where you belong. I'm an alcoholic, and I belong in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been surrendered by the bottle to the bottle. There's nothing out there for me, only pain and trouble and misery. And when you reach that point in your life, it gives you it frees up so much spiritual bandwidth for the good things that alcoholics has to offer. And everyone in here's got worth and value. A dear friend of ours always says when he shares, if you stay around AA, you'll get longevity, but not seniority. If I think I'm better than somebody else because I'm here a few 24s, shame on me. I love the fact that AA, our fellowship, it's egalitarian. We're a fellowship of equals. It's not a hierarchy. And we're together here. There's one lifeboat, and it's called Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you're new here tonight, it's none of my business who's sitting next to me in the lifeboat. That's God's business. It is my business if I'm willing to help that person or be helped by that person, for that I am responsible. And if you're out here tonight, you might be saying, oh, Paul, it's okay for you guys. You're sober for a while. We have a symbol in AA. It's a triangle inside a circle. And there's 3 parts to it: unity, service, and recovery. I believe from your first meeting here tonight, you can put all 3 parts of that triangle into your life. Unity. We do together what I can't do alone. Many meetings make it easy, few make it hard, none make it impossible. I need you and you need me, and that's okay by me tonight. There was a guy that used to speak that passed away, and he used to say, the highest pay grade in AA is servant. They told us you put away one more chair than the one you sat on, you're doing service in AA. Recovery. Maybe the 12 steps seem like a foreign concept tonight. If you're new, we have slogans in AA. They were like the banisters to the steps. Easy does it. Live and let live, one day at a time. Now, I'm here to tell you from personal experience, you can stay dry in 2 parts of the triangle. I've done it. You can even stay dry in 1 part of the triangle. I've done that too. But if I want to get free from the one person I can never get free from, which is me, and live in the one place I've never lived, which is right here, I got to put all 3 parts into my life, and I got to do it every day. I've been in Las Vegas a few times, and I don't gamble, but I like to watch, and maybe you see those guys, I remember I was in Caesar's Palace, they got this side room, and they're playing high stakes Texas Hold'em, and you see a guy standing up, and he got all his chips, and he says, I'm all in. I thought, what a great metaphor for AA. I got to be all in. Because you know what? My alcoholism is all in every day. This disease never takes a day off. It wasn't like when COVID came. Oh, there's a pandemic. I'll see you in a couple of years when it come on even harder. Because this disease, it's a separator. It's a divider. My epitaph is always, my case is different. Nobody understands me. Thank God for that first word of the first step. And my own story here. I know this may come as a shock to some people here tonight, but I'm not from the neighborhood originally, It's about 35 years now since I left my native Cuba. I'm from Ireland, outside of Belfast, and the sort of neighborhood I came from, if you didn't drink, you moved. Everybody drank. A working class neighborhood, a hard drinking neighborhood. It's not uncommon to see public drunkenness. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't know why I'm an alcoholic. Was I born an alcoholic? Did I become an alcoholic? Was it nature? Was it nurture? Was I a symptom looking for disease? I don't know tonight, and I'll tell you better, I could care less. I accept the fact tonight that I am an alcoholic. Everything I need to know, I found out at my first meeting that my name is Paul and I'm an alcoholic. Because that tells me who I am and what I am and where I am. And thank God the old timers didn't tell me my life would get better. They said if you make that the central factor of your life, you will get better. And that has been proven to be true. So I don't know why. I've heard people tell different stories. Some people were successful in their lives. Some people had a motive. That is not my story. I came out of the starting blocks at 15 years of age, flat on my face. I love this time of year. I love that movie, and I love the book Christmas Carol. It's a little thing I do on Christmas Eve. Wife and kids to bed, I'll sit up and watch usually the old version, Alistair Sim, because it's such an allegory for life, right? You've got the ghost of the past, and the ghost of the present, and the ghost of the future. When I was taking that first drink at 14 or 15 years of age up a back street in Belfast, if the ghost of my alcoholic future had tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want to show you something. Look in that window. You see that guy drinking round the clock against his own will? You see that guy that's pushed away everybody who mattered in his life? You see that guy who has quicksand stretched around him in all directions? That will be you in 15 years. I'd have said, you're out of your mind. You must be thinking of somebody else. But that's exactly what happened. I wouldn't let another man come close to doing what I allowed booze to do to me. I mean, I'm not much of a fighter. I mean, I only ever had one bar fight, and that was a draw. Although most people watching said that she won, you know. So we'll move quickly on from that, you know. But I was in trouble from day one. Within 6 months, I'm getting my stomach pumped out in the local hospital on a school night. And they told my parents, it's a good job you brought him here. He probably would have died of alcoholic poisoning. I had great dreams to be a soccer player. I love soccer. Out the window. I give up everything. I mean, isn't this disease terrible? Alcohol asks you to give up everything for one thing. And AA asks you to give up one thing for everything. One of those paradoxes in AA. So my life's fallen apart in short order. I'm working class Catholic from the wrong side of the tracks. I don't know if you know about Northern Ireland history. With like a low-level civil war going on. I had a big chip on my shoulder. In fact, when I got to AA, a guy says to me, you know something? You're a well-balanced guy. I said, finally somebody that knows what's going on around here. He says, you got a chip on both shoulders, you know? Hated everything. He can always find the needle in the haystack. So my life's fallen apart in Northern Ireland, but I don't want to look in. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a finger pointer. It's a story of my life. Always looking for an outside fix for what's an inside job. It's no coincidence I'm standing in America with an Irish accent. I was a runner, a long-distance runner. Oh, you know, and alcoholics were so dramatic, you know. My life's falling apart in Northern Ireland. I come home one night and I said to my father, I said, Dad, sit down. I got some bad news for you. He says, what is it? I said, I'm going to America and don't try and talk me out of it. He says, talk you out of it? I'll help you pack. On you go, Columbus. Turn left at Greenland, you know. I know we got some new people here tonight that mightn't realize that Columbus was actually an alcoholic. When you think about it, he must have been an alcoholic. When he set off, he didn't know where he was going. When he got there, he didn't know where he was. When he got back, he didn't know where he had been. And he got a woman to pay for the trip, not once, but twice. So you know he might have been an alcoholic, right? So my life's falling apart in Northern Ireland. I jump on a plane and I wake up and wash up on Rockaway Beach, New York City. And to make matters worse, I got a job as a bartender. Now, I hold the distinct title of being the worst bartender in the worst bar in Rockaway Beach. I mean, there was some pretty stiff competition, but I managed to pull it off. I mean, I worked in a bar. You know the sort of a bar, we had a bouncer on the door, but he was there to throw people into the bar, you know? You know the sort of a bar, if you want to see a full set of teeth, you need 32 customers, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at these beautiful women out here tonight. Ladies' night in this bar, oh my God. Most of the women that come into this bar, they look like they put their makeup on when they were jumping up and down on a trampoline. You know, so like over here, back over here. But water finds its own level, and so do alcoholics, and I fit it in like a glove. I used to work from 6 at night to 4 in the morning. I mean, it's pretty pathetic, actually. I worked in a job where I could walk behind the stick, or walk behind the bar at 6 o'clock at night and pour myself a drink and put it in the speed rack. At the end of my drinking, I couldn't even get to that job. Fears, phobias, hang-ups. What's the old saying in AA? Booze gave me the wings to fly, and then it took away the sky. The herbaceous creditor. In the Merchant of Venice, Shylock just wanted 1 pound of flesh, not this disease. It'll take my job. It'll take my car. It'll take my wife. It'll take my kids. It'll take the shirt off my back. But what it really wants is me 6 feet under. There's a lot of terminal diseases out there tonight. I'm not familiar with those, but I'm familiar with this one. This disease, alcoholism, will kill me stone dead with or without a drink in my body. I don't need booze in my body to burn my life to the ground. I almost done it in AA because I wouldn't accept these spiritual principles. I looked at the steps as information. I'm an alcoholic. I realized tonight, and I hope I don't forget tomorrow, that the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, they're not informative, they're transformative. I guarantee you here tonight, and this is not a sales pitch, you can go through those steps willingly, or you can go through them kicking and screaming, but I guarantee you, you're a different person at 12 than you were at 1, whether you want to be or not. That's the power of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So my life's falling apart, as I said there. I almost went to the graveyard thinking I had a drinking problem. I found out in AA, in the big book, that a drinking problem is solved by not drinking. It gives a couple of examples. A romantic reason, a change of environment, and those people can stop or even moderate. But then it talks about us. But what about the real alcoholic? See, I don't have a drinking problem. I have alcoholism. And that's a horse of a different color. Yes, it's physical. You can't enjoy the benefits of being sober and drink booze at the same time. I know that sounds like a no-brainer. You'd be surprised how many people want to thread the needle. But it's also mental, and it's spiritual, and in my case, wrapped up in a body full of childish emotions. I'll give you one. I mean, I've experienced every form of drinking. I was a weekend drinker as a kid. I was a daily drinker, a morning drinker, a binge drinker. By the time I'm 25, I hit my first hospital because of my drinking. By the time I'm 27, I'm trying to stop drinking. I can stop, but I can't stay stopped. You know what AA has given me that I can never repay them for? They've given me something between me and the first drink tonight. You'll hear people saying, AA, oh, you're just an arm's length away from a drink. I suppose technically that's true. Right here tonight, I don't know about tomorrow, but right here tonight, yes, I'm an arm's length away from a drink, but I'm also 12 steps away from a drink. And that's a long, long way from when I first walked into AA. But don't get me wrong, they're not 12 steps up to anything. They're 12 steps down to humility. I seen people drink again in AA that I thought would never drink again. And it could be me. I realize today, and I hope I don't forget tomorrow, I get a daily reprieve, not a lifetime pardon. The day that I wake up and think I'm staying sober is the day I'm getting ready to get drunk again. A friend of mine drank after a long time in AA. He says, you know how you get drunk in AA? You give those steps back one step at a time. Take your will back in 3. Become insane in 2. So insane, you tell yourself you're not an alcoholic and get drunk in the first step. Right here, right now, I'm safe and protected. 12 steps away from a drink. Not because of me, because of you good people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll give you one vignette that just sums this up about alcoholism. At this stage of my drinking, barroom drinking is a memory. I would lock myself in the apartment, use a line from The Godfather, I'd go to the mattresses. Just close the blinds. You wake, just drink, pass out, Here's a recipe for unhappiness. Lock yourself in the apartment, close the blinds, and play the saddest blues music. I would listen to stuff like the great Warren Zevon. If you won't leave me, I'll find somebody that will. Sort of songs alcoholics like to listen to. Or the Al-Anon version of that song. If you leave me, can I come too? I'm just joking. I love Al-Anon. So I'm in this apartment. I run out of drink. I'm a bartender in Rockaway. I always know where to get drink in the middle of the night. I go down to this bar, knock on the side door. The guy lets me in, puts a bottle of Doers up on the counter and a few beers. I go into an alcoholic seizure, and I wake up in the local hospital, not for the first time, in Peninsula Hospital. I was convulsing so bad that they put me under a restraining sheet, jacked me up full of Librium. Eventually I level out. They took the restraining cuffs off. There's a woman standing at the bedside with that alcoholic on again, off again relationship. And I took her hand. And I wasn't trying to be cinematic. I took her hand and I said to her, I can't drink. It's obvious I can't drink. And I will never, ever drink again. That's it. I'm done. It's over. Finished. What does Bill Wilson say in his story? This must stop. What does he say in his story? Self-knowledge. Surely that's the answer. No, it's not. Knowing I'm an alcoholic will not keep me sober. If this is a one-step program, I'm a dead man walking because I always drink again. And I left that hospital convinced. If you'd have put me in a lie detector machine in the lobby of that hospital, I would have passed with flying colors. Because I meant it at a visceral level. I'm done. It's over. But I left that hospital. I really didn't know what this problem was, step 1. I didn't know what the solution was, step 12. And I hadn't got used good people to bring me between the two. Even with all that conviction, it was me against the first drink. And up in this moment in time tonight, I have never in single-handed combat beaten an obsession to drink. What is an obsession? An idea that crowds out all other ideas. I left that hospital. Let me just give you what alcoholism is. I left that hospital convinced that I wasn't going to drink again. A week goes by. I got a week. I get this stone in my shoe. I don't know where it came from, but it's there all the time. 2 weeks go by. I've got this knot in my stomach. 3 weeks go by. The top button of my shirt feels tight all the time. A month goes by. I'm talking through gritted teeth. You could fry eggs in the back of my neck. Now I submit to you, after 30 days, you put me in any machine in the world, you will not find a trace of alcohol in my body. I submit to you, that's not a drinking problem. That's a living sober problem. And that's why I need 12 steps, 12 traditions, home group, all these things working together so I can live out there one day at a time under his conditions rather than my demands. And I drank again. I couldn't, what's our book said? I couldn't believe that I drank again. And that woman said what non-alcoholics say, I got to get away from you. And I say what alcoholics say, I don't need you. And I drank for 2.5 more years after that, bottoms to bottoms. I love when people are telling their story, and it goes down and it goes down. And then they say what I believe is the most spiritual words in an AA talk. And then. There's not a person in here tonight with 1 day or more that hasn't had an and then moment. I was talking to Tracy earlier on. Thank you so much for your hospitality. This is my and then moment. When I hear an alcoholic say and then, I sit up like a German shepherd because I know God's coming the next sentence. I'm in that apartment on another drunk. There's no more good times. I'm drinking for unconscious time. I know my life's a disaster. I remember catching my reflection in the mirror and I'm putting a bottle of vodka to my lips and I thought to myself, what the hell happened to me? What happened to that 14 or 15-year-old kid back in Belfast that thought he was going to be the next soccer star? That ship has sailed. Maybe if I keep enough of this vodka down, I can pass out for a couple of hours. And a piece of paper came under my door. I looked at this piece of paper, and it said what I've been hearing since I was 15 or 16 back in Northern Ireland. You're a nice guy, but you drink too much. And it had a man's telephone number. Now, it's strange enough, a piece of paper coming under your door. The stranger thing is, I called the number. Because I'm Irish, I'm stoic. Don't tell nobody now. I built these walls high, and I built them. Nobody else built them. I built them, one brick at a time. You weren't getting in, but guess what? I wasn't getting out. And this woman answered the phone, Kitty from Al-Anon, and she shouted to her husband, Jerry, I think it's that Irish guy on the phone. I was talking to Patrick earlier on. I heard Jerry coming to the phone. He was from the old South Bronx group in New York. That group had a mantra. We don't give up on anybody. What a great mantra for a home group. He says, where are you? I told him where I was. He says, me and another guy is going to come to your apartment. Just two regular guys. One guy was a subway conductor. The other guy was a commercial removals guy. But like our book says, they were armed with the facts about themselves. Now, I thought they were going to come to my apartment and talk to me about my drinking. Because back in August of 92, the few people left in my life, maybe have had these conversations. Paul, we need to talk about your drinking. Do you know what you did last night? And I'd stand there like Dr. Bob says in his story, getting scolded. You're right, you're right. And as they're talking to me, I'm thinking, I wish they would go away so I could go drinking again. It makes perfect sense to me now that God, in his infinite wisdom, would use alcoholics to get alcoholics sober. I listened to nobody since I was a kid. Soccer coaches, mother, father, in one ear, out the other ear. But I listen with you people because you talk about you and I find out about me. If we lose identification, we're just, I don't know what we are. That's our prized possession in AA, is identification. And these two men came over to my apartment and they came in and they didn't talk about my drinking. They started to tell story after story of their drinking. What does Dr. Bob say in his story when he first met Bill Wilson? It was the first human being he had ever met that he felt fully understood him, and not because he read it in a book somewhere. That's how I felt. I told these two men within 20 minutes something I hadn't told myself. I coughed up the big fur ball. I said to this man, I can't stop drinking. The last time they just let me out of a hospital, I was drinking the same day as I got out of the hospital. What's wrong with me? And the guy put his arm around me and he said what I believe is the most beautiful words a suffering alcoholic can hear. He said, help is on the way. If you're new here tonight, let me put my arm around you and tell you help is on the way. Tonight. Little did I know that'd be my sobriety date. About 36 hours later, I got bookended into a car and got brought to my first meeting of AA. And walking through the doors of an AA meeting is the greatest singular event in my life. Everything else is secondary and tertiary. I'm so glad there wasn't a guy at the first meeting with a clipboard saying, hey, check the box for what you want. I would have checked the box for not drinking. Alcohol is only mentioned the first half of the first step. The rest of this program is about living out there. Now, I would like to tell you, as I move through this talk, that I took a ball that night and scored a touchdown. But I came into AA with a lot of old ideas. Our literature says, let go absolutely of all your old ideas. And I came into AA with a lot of old ideas. Barroom mentality. Barroom mentality that might serve me well at 2 o'clock in the morning in some gin mill, but was not helping me in AA. Now, I'm here to tell you from personal experience, you can fool them at the coffee pot at 7:30 at night. I've done it. How's it going, Paul? Oh, it's going great. You know when untreated alcoholism would come to visit me? 2 o'clock in the morning. Could-haves, should-haves, would-haves, guilt, shame, remorse, another sleepless night in quote-unquote sobriety. And every night at 3 o'clock in the morning, this book would magically appear at my bedside table. And it wasn't a big book. It was called Where I Should Be by Now in My Life by Paul McQ. I hope you don't have that book at home. You have that book on your bedside table with no drink and no program. You're ready to put a rope over the rafters. I've been to jumping off place twice in my life. Once with drink and once with no drink and no program. It's a different type of pain, but pain nonetheless. I was doing unity. I was going to plenty of meetings. I was doing service. I'm making more coffee than Juan Valdez. Are you kidding me? But I wouldn't do door number 3. I wouldn't do recovery. The steps seemed touchy-feely. I said, I do these steps. I'll have wind chimes hanging up around the house, you know. Wearing flip-flops in the wintertime, you know. Contempt prior to investigation. That is me personified. Had a sponsor with a name only. Another guy came up to me in a meeting one night. He says, Paul, can I talk to you? I said, sure. He says, you're dying. And you're dying right in the middle of AA. He said, you know what you're like? You're like a starving man at a spiritual banquet. There's all this food on offer, and you're over here living on bread and water. It was like he threw a bucket of cold water over me. That's exactly what I was doing. He said, you know how I know that? I've been there myself. The next day, God's never late. The next day, this is 2.5 years off drink, doing unity and service with no program. I came into AA, I didn't know much money. 2.5 years in AA, I was thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt, and I know why tonight. I was still trying to fill the hole in my soul with outside stuff. You can't do it. The next day, I'm driving through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel onto the Gowanus Expressway, 6 lanes, rush hour traffic, and a guy cut me off. I'm like, oh, really? I chase after him. I'm not that type of guy. I never did this drinking. I chase after him. I jam him against the guardrail. I'm blocking 3 lanes of rush hour traffic. This is 2.5 years with off drink with no program. I go back to the guy's car. There's an Asian man sitting behind the wheel shaking. His wife's crying in the passenger seat, and his 3 children are crying in the back of the car. I apologized profusely. I got in my own car. I hit my head on the steering wheel. I said, I'm crazier off drink than I was on it. And in some respects, that's true. I go to my sponsor's house in name only, sober a long time, but you can only help some. I'd went as far as you can go on osmosis in AA. I couldn't go any further. He was sober a long time. He was sitting on his porch smoking a big cigar. I pulled up. I says, Jimmy, I got to talk to you. He said, what is it? I told him what I just told you. And he sat back and he goes, how old were you when this happened? I says, Jimmy, this happened 20 minutes ago on the Guanas Expressway. Remember, we get like lost in translation here, you know? You're like hooked on phonics' Shamrock version, you know? And he coined a phrase, Dr. Tebow, a great friend of AA, not an alcoholic, but understood alcoholism like few non-alcoholics do, coined a phrase, His Majesty the Baby. He says, you're like a child in a man's body. He says, number one, they don't make cribs in your size. That's number one. Number two, you've been tiptoeing around this program, keeping about arm's length with your one-liners and your glib phrases. If you don't get into this program, if you don't get free from the one person you've never gotten free from, you, and start living where you've never lived, here, your life's going to go unlived in AA, and that's on you. We talk about the terrible things that happen out there. You know the saddest thing is? Sitting in the rooms of AA, the unlived life, sitting right in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He said, you're a spectator at your own miracle. And AA is not a spectator. AA is organic. It's living. It's breathing. You got to get your hands into AA. So what if you take a few cul-de-sacs and a few? So what? You'll get back on the road of happy destiny. But I was doing zero recovery. And I get into the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Is it nice to do the steps and find out who you are and who you're not? Yeah. Get a full knowledge of your condition? Yeah. But when did my life catch on fire? When did my life take on new meaning? When I turned around and I brought another man through the program. That's when great events came to pass. I think somewhere, someday, I'm going to be asked one question. What did you do with the gift that was given to you? Well, I worked on myself, and I worked on no, I'll ask you again. What did you do with the gift? I'm a pretty selfish guy, but the most selfish thing I could do would be to take this gift and put it in my back pocket. There was somebody at the door for me. I better be at the door for somebody else. Because I guarantee you, I'd never been in this part of Denver in my life before. But if I leave this room tonight, I wouldn't have to knock on too many doors, and I'll find somebody drinking themselves to death right now, oblivious to what's going on in here. And what's our job? What has AA ever asked me to do? All AA has ever asked me to do is, can you stay sober and try to help another alcoholic? And in trying to do that, which I don't do perfectly, I've been so grossly overpaid, it's embarrassing. And paid in things. Oscar Wilde, the Irish writer, says he knew the price of everything and the value of nothing. AA has taught me the things of real value. The big ticket items in AA are cashless. You know, so if you're out there where I was tonight, there's a story, and I'd heard it many times, and we can all relate to it. It's like a story of an alcoholic, the prodigal son or the prodigal daughter. And you know where that story goes. The guy goes off, and he burns his life to the ground, and he decides to go back home again. And his father thought his son was dead. And he says, my son's still alive. Throws a big party for his son. I read that story many times till I was on retreat one time, and a priest pointed out to me. It says the son comes up to the house. It doesn't actually say if he goes in. If you're new here, don't do what I did. Don't stand outside the house looking through the window. Don't stand in the corner waiting for crumbs from the table. Come all the way in. Sit all the way down. Partake of everything in the spiritual banquet. The AA God is a God of abundance. Now, your abundance might be different than mine. But if I'm out there looking through the window, what did Mother Teresa say? Even God can't fill a cup that's already full. These steps empty you out to let the good stuff in. And my life today, you know, I'm not saying to do the steps of AA. No. Getting sober, if you're new here tonight, getting sober is probably the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, except one other thing, drink yourself to death. And the roller coaster goes up and the roller coaster goes down. Just don't get off. Stay on. Ride it out. I went through difficult times in sobriety. I was talking earlier on. Went through a divorce at 20 years sober. Resentment to here. How about up to here? Another guy involved. But thank God, I know today that I don't have to go through anything alone in my life again. If I'm going through something alone in AA, it's because I want to. There's not one thing. You know what gets you in trouble in AA when you've been sober for a while? Spiritual pride. How can I go to my home group at 20 years sober and tell them my life's falling apart? Well, I don't need to do a PowerPoint presentation, but somebody has to know what time of day it is in my spiritual world. I need to be actively sponsored. Thank God for my sponsor that time. I needed to be actively sponsored. What's the old saying? When you're inside the jar, you can't read the label. I need somebody stand outside the jar. I need somebody who's not as attached to my life as I am, who can say, Paul, it may appear that way, but this is what's happening. I talked to a friend of ours, and he asked me to speak at something. I said, I'm not coming to speak. He said, why not? I said, my life's falling apart right in the middle. He said, you don't want me? He goes, Paul, what do you think this is? Rainbows and unicorns here? Every day is Christmas? No. There's tough times in sobriety. There's tough sledding. He said, I'll tell you what can happen here. You're going through this situation. This will either kick you into AA or it'll kick you out of AA. And it's usually which way you're facing. And thank God I was facing into AA. And that situation, that event, kicked me further into AA. And my sponsor says to me, and the resentment was killing me. I says, pray. I don't want to take the high road. Do you know what happened to me? He said, Paul, take the high road. Am I ever glad? See, it's easy to do what you want to do in AA. It's a walk in the park. I got sober doing things I didn't want to do. Or more importantly, doing things I didn't believe in. What is praying for him going to do for me? But it got me free. It's the same as this program. When I was doing that unity and service, there was people, good people, pointing to the steps, pointing to the solution. But my alcoholic ego is so defended that rather than look at what they're pointing at, you know what I did? I look at who's doing the pointing. And I find fault with you. And that will allow me to disregard you, discount you, dismiss you. And rather than look at what you're pointing at, I'll look who's doing the pointing. We have a word for that. In our book, we call it plain insanity. What does it say? What's the old joke? I would rather be dead than wrong. What's the old joke? They're putting the alcoholic into the grave, and they're all standing around, and they hear a voice from the coffin. Hold on. I was right. We think that's funny, but that's the God's honest truth. My alcoholic, and thank God that point at 2.5 years into AA, the pain that I was in, my ego was suspended just enough to allow in new information. New information that would ultimately save my life. My own life today, as I said there, and through that divorce, and I remember putting my little girl to bed. She was 9 years old at the time, and she was saying, Daddy, I don't want to get divorced. And I'd be sitting in the living room going, what the hell is happening? My life's full. A day at a time. Not going through it alone, I got through it. And I got remarried myself in Alcoholics Now. I met a girl in AA, and I've got my oldest girl, she's 19 today. I got a 19-year-old, and I got a 5-year-old. Now, I'm not telepathic, but I know exactly what you're thinking right now. This guy's got a 5-year-old? The jokes write themselves. One's in college and one's in kindergarten. In fact, that was my wife's greatest fear when the baby was born, that she was going to walk into the living room and realize somebody's diaper needs changed, And she wasn't sure if it was mine or the baby's, you know. And I'll tell you a couple of stories. There's a guy who used to speak and he would say, the golden memories of a sober life. Thank God AA is not a meritocracy by where your good deeds out there ensure how far you go in here. I've been so blessed in AA with the things of real value. That oldest girl, we got through everything, and she's a theater person, and she was in that show, Legally Blonde, and she was playing the lead role of Elle Woods in the musical. And I was sitting in the front row every night with a bunch of flowers. Now, I tell the guy next door to me, who's a non-alcoholic, hey, you know, I was in the front row. He said, what, do you want a medal? But I tell you, because you know, and I hope I don't forget, you put one drink in me. I'm not sitting in the front row. I'm sitting in some bar talking about my daughter in the show, but I ain't there. I'm always a no-show. And I was there because of that. And the little one, her last birthday, my God, she loves the Lion King. And my wife decorated the house like the Lion King. And she got up that morning. The oldest girl's Kristen, the youngest girl's Dahlia. And she says, and her eyes were like, and I picked her up and she whispered in my ear. She says, Daddy, I want to be 5 forever. My heart. That's what I was looking for in vodka. Booze promised, but it never delivered. This program promises and delivers and promises and delivers. Now, and every day is not Legally Blonde and Fifth Birth, but more, way more than I deserve. The golden memories of a sober life in Alcoholics Anonymous. And there's a story I would like to say before I sit down about our unity. My brother got sober. I just love that fact that we're connected. Another line I misread for years in AA. I would have said the road to happy destiny. It doesn't say that. It says the road of happy destiny. If you're one day sober tonight, you're on the road. You're on the journey with us. I was back in Belfast. I got sober in New York, but my brother got sober back in Belfast. And exactly, that's just what I was thinking exactly myself. You took the words right out of my mouth, you know. And a lot of my conversations with my sponsors start like that, you know. You're like, again? And I'm back in Belfast, and we had this low-level civil war going on that I called the Troubles at this time. And I was asked to speak at a meeting in Belfast. And then it was at Christmas time, years ago before I got married. And the day after Christmas is Boxing Day, they called over there. And then they've got a prison outside of Belfast where they kept all the political prisoners. And during visiting hours, one of the paramilitary leaders got killed. And the country was on the brink of a civil war. I mean, it was bad. And I was asked to speak at a meeting in Belfast that night. And my brother says to me, we can't go down into Belfast tonight. They're burning buses and there's barricades. And I said, we'll go anyway. He said, you've been... I said, so I love it. We were coming from West Belfast, which is all Catholic. So we had 4 Catholics in the car. And we took this circuitous route over the peace line into East Belfast, which is all Protestant. And I love AA gallows humor, because one of the guys in the car says, just think, the last time a Catholic was in this part of Belfast after dark, he was in the trunk of the car, you know? And we all sort of laughed. We took this circuitous route and we got to the meeting. It was a small meeting, and the guys were standing outside smoking cigarettes. And there was these young teenagers that do a thing over there called joyriding, where they'll steal cars and drive them around and burn them out. So we pull up, strange faces, and they're like, hell. And the guy who was a chairperson recognized one of the guys in the car, and he shouts to the kids, hey, leave that car alone. These guys are friends of ours. We go into the meeting that night. The guy, I can't think of one place in Northern Ireland that night that Catholics and Protestants were sitting together, but they were sitting together in a meeting of AA. And all that stuff that was all over the 6 o'clock news was left in the parking lot where it belonged. And we sat together talking about our common problem, and our common solution. And in that, there was far more united us than ever divided us. Now, I'm not going to say after the meeting we went skipping down the street singing Kumbaya. But those guys felt good that we were sober. We felt good. Where else do you see that? We get a front row seat for the very best that humanity has to offer in Alcoholics Anonymous. A friend of mine was at a meeting in Tel Aviv, and he said there's an English-speaking meeting there. And at the end of the meeting, they were standing round to say the Serenity Prayer. And was it, is it odd or is it God? This Orthodox Jewish man was standing next to this Muslim woman. And because of their respective religions, they're not allowed to have physical contact. And my friend says there was this sort of awkwardness and this pregnant pause. And then she picked up the big book and she held one side of the big book and he held the other side of the big book. And the circle was formed. Where else do you see that? Only in Alcoholics Anonymous. So if you're new here tonight, Alcoholics Anonymous is the only place I know you get to live 2 lives in 1 lifetime. People come to AA and they go, oh, I came to AA and I got my life back. I don't want my life back. It sucked. I had it for 30 years. Are there people from the old drinking days? Yes. But things are different today because I found you good people and I know who I am. Paul, I know what I am. I'm an alcoholic and I know where I belong in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll just end on a few words that sum up how I feel about you and how I feel about AA. This is the Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you so much, everybody.
Everybody, please, one more round of applause for Paul.